Hello. This week we're going to talk about media and society, and we're going to start with a brief history. Media. How much time do you spend with it? Do you like the radio, television, social media, reading? Maybe you love the movies? How much time do you really think you spend with media? Well, here's a good example. From 2011 to 2015, our digital media time spent has almost doubled. Obviously, mobile is one of the major upticks in this. Television has gone down just slightly. Radio sort of stays the same. Print, unfortunately, is wavering. But our total combined daily use of media is at 12 hours and 4 minutes. That's a heck of a lot of time using media. So let's look at some history. Media is good and it could be bad. At its worst, the media can erode our quality of life, or does it improve our quality of life? At best, the media help us understand events and trends. Or does media control them? It all began in media with print. Gutenberg creates the printing press in the 15th century. Books at that time took months to publish, and they were very expensive. So only the wealthy could read. After the 1500s, printers reduced the size and the cost to make it more affordable. So books spurred change, and there are a few different major changes. One was resistance to authority. People started to think for themselves rather than just listen to what their politicians and clergy were telling them. They were able to read about different ideas and viewpoints and make decisions for themselves. New social economic classes. Mass production of books led to mass production of other goods, the Industrial Revolution, and it created a middle and elite class. The spread of literacy. That makes total sense, doesn't it? Some rulers fought back with this, though, and controlled the printing press licenses because they didn't want their people to get too literate so that they could keep power. And the focus on individualism. People became less reliant, as I said a few seconds ago, on their clergy and their government leaders and started to read and form their own opinions. Then newspapers came along in the 1700s. Two more newspapers appeared in the 1720s in both Philadelphia and New York. By the eve of the Revolutionary War, there were 24 papers in the colonies. The articles in these colonial papers were brilliantly conceived by the revolutionary propagandists and were a major force that influenced public opinion in America. By the end of the war, there were 43 newspapers in print. Newspapers have traditionally been an important part of civil society, providing information to citizens, convening groups around events and issues, and serving as a watchdog against abuses of power. Electronic. The telegraph is invented. Makes mass communication of media messages instantaneous for the first time. And this is in the 1840s. There was no need for the stagecoach to deliver, or ships, or Pony Express. The telegraph did have little impact on most people's daily lives. It was a specialist technology, owned by companies and operated by professionals. But the indirect impact of the telegraph was huge. Things started working more quickly and efficiently, starting with the railways and quickly extending to the transport of goods and materials. These impacts included impact on prices and trade. The rise of telecommunications with the telegraph meant that new, faster transport could be harnessed and exploited in markets that move from more efficiently and rapidly. Also, the impact on business. The rise of most multinational corporations date from the late 19th century, when the telegraph made it possible to run regional operations from a central head office. Later international lines made it possible to run overseas subsidiaries. And also the rise in market-sensitive information. Advanced information eased shipments, helped markets grow, and reduced price fluctuations. It also meant there was a value in the information as well as in the goods. Although the telegraph had fallen out of widespread use by the 21st century, replaced by the telephone, the fax machine, the internet, it laid the groundwork for the communications revolution that led to those later innovations.
Text messaging, 1843 style. All right, Len, today we've got a big one. Tell me what we have right here.
It's the first telegram.
Ever.
The first official telegram sent on May 24th, 1844.
Earth-shaking, of course, because it allowed people to communicate who are hundreds of miles apart from each other. It's hard to overstate how important this was.
Well, with hindsight, we can realize that this started the telecommunications revolution. To get a message from A to B, you had to physically take it there. You had to walk it, run it, get on a horse, a boat.
Or be in visual sightline, I guess.
Well,
right?
yeah. But on this day, May 24, Samuel F.B. Morse has a battery and a little key. He has strung wires 38 or so miles from Washington to Baltimore. And people knew that you could send electricity through a wire and have something happen. But the genius of Morse is that he knew what he wanted to have happen. And what he did was he was able to instantly communicate. He could send a message from here to there instantly.
By having the patterns and pulses of the signal.
A telegraph is two things. You have to be able to send the message through a wire, a single wire, send electricity from here to there, and just on off, basically. But then you have to, what is the message?
Yeah.
Is the message beep? Well, in this case, it's dot dash, dot dash.
So he invented the Morse code that we're familiar with today.
Yeah, that's why it's called Morse code.
Yeah.
Our conservation office has encased it in this plastic thing so we can hold it without gloves.
Because this is the original that we're holding.
This is the original, what hath God wrought? That was the first message that was sent.
So the message itself was transmitted via these impressions in the paper.
Exactly.
And then afterwards, the actual letters, which are recognizable to our eye, were added in ink below the impression. Is that correct?
Exactly. He was a very religious man.
Hence the phrase, what hath God wrought?
And there is a question mark at the end, if you'll notice there. Now, Morse knew that this was an historic document. He embellished it with, first of all, writing the alphabetical letter underneath each dots or dash. And then across the top, he wrote in his own hand here, this sentence was written from Washington by me at the Baltimore terminus at 8:45 a.m. on Friday, May 24, 1844, being the first ever transmitted from Washington to Baltimore by telegraph. Then he signed it Samuel F.B. Morse, Superintendent of Electromagnetic Telegraph. And that was his title.
It appears that Morse was very aware at the time of the implications of this invention.
Yeah, he was, and the message is especially appropriate. Len Bruno, Manuscript Specialist for Science and Technology, Library of Congress.
Our next media innovation? Film, in 1890 by Thomas Edison. The power of cinema to inspire, propagandize, or indoctrinate was recognized by governments of widely different political persuasions from the beginnings of film. Cinema is a reflection of society, both past and present. It is a powerful vehicle for culture, education, leisure, and propaganda. The function of a film is to delight and instruct. Then came radio. Not soon after. 1990s, or early 1900s, excuse me. Prior to the discovery and invention of radio waves devices, it took days to transmit to areas that were without wired communication, like the telegraph. Radio also allowed information to be instantaneously communicated to multiple places at the same time. It was also the first form of wireless instant communication. Since its inception, radio's impact on American culture has been immense. Modern popular culture is unthinkable without the early influence of radio. Radio news was more than just a quick way to find out about events. It was the way that U.S. citizens experienced events with the same emotions. Next came television, my favorite, invented by a 13-year-old farm boy named Philo Farnsworth. If you don't know that story, it's a wonderful one. He was growing up on a farm. He saw the way the rows of corn sat in the field, and he thought, if I could just do light transmission that way, I could create a picture through a tube. That's a genius, kid. Television is a major form of mass communication. Television helps provide people with a larger understanding of their outside world. Between the 1940s and the early 2000s, commercial television had a profound and wide-ranging impact on American society and culture. It influenced the way that people think about such important issues as race, gender, and class. Next, we have digital. Cutting-edge communication like personal computers, cable television, email, DVDs, DVRs, the internet, direct broadcasts, cell phones, and PDAs. Digital communication makes mass communication instantaneous, inexpensive, and global. The internet is a decisive technology for the information age, and with the explosion of wireless communication in the early 21st century, we can say that humankind is now almost entirely connected, but with great levels of inequity in bandwidth, efficiency, and price. The internet creates new ways for citizens to communicate, congregate, and share information. But there's a catch here. Media often reports that intense use of internet increases the risk of isolation, alienation, and withdrawal from society. The rise of the me-centered society, marked by an increased focus on individual growth and the decline in community understood in terms of space, work, family, and ascription in general. A community is formed through individual quests for like-minded people in the process that combines online interaction with offline interaction, cyberspace, and local space. So the whole idea is that the internet has created this vast world for us to communicate and congregate and share information with each other. And at the same time, it's created isolation. It's fascinating.
Did you know the average person spends 4 years of his life looking down at his cell phone? Kinda ironic, ain't it? How these touch screens can make us lose touch. But it's no wonder in a world filled with iMacs, iPads, and iPhones, so many eyes, so many selfies, not enough us's and we's. See, technology has made us more selfish and separate than ever. Because while it claims to connect us, connection has gotten no better. And let me express first, Mr. Zuckerberg, not to be rude, but you should reclassify Facebook to what it is, an anti-social network. Because while we may have big friend lists, so many of us are friendless all alone, because friendships are more broken than the screens on our very phones. We sit at home on our computers measuring self-worth by numbers of followers and likes. Ignoring those who actually love us, it seems we'd rather write an angry post and talk to someone who might actually hug us. Am I bugging? You tell me, because I asked a friend the other day, let's meet up face to face. They said, all right, what time you want to Skype? I responded with OMG, SRS, and then a bunch of SMHs and realized, what about me? Do I not have the patience to have conversation without abbreviation? This is the generation of media overstimulation. Chats have been reduced to snaps. The news is 140 characters. Videos are 6 seconds at high speed. And you wonder why ADD is on the rise faster than 4G LTE. But get a load of this. Studies show the attention span of the average adult today is 1 second lower than that of a goldfish. So if you're one of the few people or aquatic animals that have yet to click off or close this video, congratulations. Let me finish by saying you do have a choice, yes. But this one, my friends, we cannot autocorrect. We must do it ourselves. Take control or be controlled, make a decision. Me, No longer do I want to spoil a precious moment by recording it with a phone. I'm just gonna keep them. I don't want to take a picture of all my meals anymore. I'm just gonna eat them. I don't want the new app, the new software, or the new update. And if I want to post an old photo, who says I have to wait until Thursday? I'm so tired of performing in the pageantry of vanity and conforming to this accepted form of digital insanity. Call me crazy, but I imagine a world where we smile when we have low batteries. Cause that'll mean we'll be one bar closer to humanity.
It's a beautiful video, and it's really something to think about. How has media technology moved us forward? In a few weeks, we're going to discuss technical determinism versus construction of technology. And these two theories are, does technology drive society, or does society drive technology? And that's a good video to keep in your head when you're thinking about those things. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed our little talk today, and your assignment for this week is to choose one of the major technologies that I discussed in this PowerPoint and discuss its impact on society throughout history. You can do 3 to 5 pages, APA formatting, which I discussed in our opening week, double-spaced, and cite at least 3 references. Let me know where you've gotten them from. Hope you have a great week. Thank you.